While the image of invincible Roman legions, led by an almost godlike general, is deeply ingrained in the public consciousness as the primary architect of Roman hegemony in the Mediterranean, this perception is far from the truth. Although some Roman provinces, such as Gaul, Hispania, and Britannia, were acquired through conquest, the majority were actually brought into the imperial fold through skillful diplomatic maneuvering. For while martial prowess was undoubtedly a prerequisite for high standing in Roman society, a lack of oratory, administrative, and diplomatic talents would relegate a man to the reputation of a mere brute. This outcome was, in fact, a predictable consequence of the consular system and the cursus honorum, which ensured a constant flurry of elections each year. Any ambitious Roman was thus compelled to master the arts of political maneuvering to advance in life. It is thanks to this system that Rome nurtured and produced some of the greatest politicians of the ancient world, and indeed of all human history. In the chaos following Nero's death, when Rome was engulfed in civil war, Vespasian emerged as the ultimate political survivor. His rise to power was a masterclass in patience and opportunism. While his rivals Galba, Otho, and Vitellius fought brutal battles for control of Rome, Vespasian bided his time, consolidating his power base in the east. When he finally made his move and declared himself emperor, it was with such carefully crafted timing that even his enemies' generals supported him. Once in power, Vespasian's political skills truly shone. He adopted the name Caesar, linking himself to the beloved Julian dynasty while simultaneously distancing himself from its more controversial figures. Vespasian's propaganda machine worked overtime, promoting him and his sons as divine heroes while systematically discrediting previous emperors. This dual approach effectively neutralized potential rivals claiming Julio-Claudian heritage, as evidenced by the easy defeat of 2 Julian revolts during his reign. Hadrian's reign marked a departure from military expansion, shifting the focus toward internal stability and cultural integration. His efforts to consolidate power in the provinces through effective administration showcased his diplomatic skills. By forgiving state debts and engaging with local leaders, Hadrian fostered goodwill and stability without relying on military force. Perhaps his most significant legacy is his succession plan, which ensured that capable successors, Antoninus Pius and Marcus Aurelius, followed him. This foresight reflects Hadrian's understanding of governance beyond his own tenure. He recognized that the health of the empire depended on the quality of its leadership. His emphasis on the arts, architecture, and public works, such as the construction of Hadrian's Wall, further solidified his legacy as a ruler committed to Rome's enduring greatness. Tiberius Gracchus emerged as a pivotal figure in Roman politics, igniting the populist movement that would reshape the Senate's dynamics. His advocacy for land reforms marked the beginning of a new political faction, the Populares. Gracchus's negotiation skills were instrumental in passing reforms that addressed the growing economic disparity in Rome, proving that popular support could challenge entrenched senatorial power, His reforms, aimed at redistributing land to the poor, resonated deeply with the disenfranchised masses. Despite his eventual assassination, the changes he initiated remained largely intact, demonstrating the lasting impact of his political strategies. Gracchus's efforts not only highlighted the potential for reform within the Republic, but also set the stage for future populist leaders, illustrating the power of grassroots movements in a predominantly aristocratic system. As the wife of Augustus and his closest advisor, Livia wielded power with a subtlety that belied its true extent. Her greatest political achievement was arguably the establishment of a Julio-Claudian dynasty, elevating the gens Claudii to the same level as the house of the illustrious Julius Caesar and Augustus. In a patriarchal world like ancient Rome, this feat required masterful alliance building and some whispered ruthless elimination of rivals, be it Julia, Marcellus, Agrippa and his sons, her son Drusus, or even Augustus himself. Livia's political theatre was a performance for the ages. She maintained the facade of the perfect Roman matron while simultaneously engaging in complex political maneuvering. Her ability to balance these two personas, the traditional wife and the cunning politician, allowed her to exert influence in ways that would have been impossible for a more overt female leader. Though, like every other controversial political figure, there is defamation clouding our understanding of her true extent of influence, it is undeniable that she was the architect behind the emergence of Claudius, Tiberius, and Caligula. Her legacy was such that she became the first Roman woman to be deified, forever known as Julia Augusta. In death, as in life, she managed to elevate not just herself, but her entire family to divine status. In a Roman political landscape dominated by men of action like Caesar and Pompey, Cicero carved out his niche through the power of words. His oratorical skills were legendary, capable of swaying the opinions of even the most stubborn senators. But Cicero was more than just a gifted speaker. He was a political operator of the highest caliber. His suppression of the Catilinarian conspiracy showcased his ability to navigate complex political situations. Through a series of speeches known as the Catilinarian orations, Cicero managed to turn public opinion against the conspirators without resorting to violence. This delicate balancing act, maintaining order while working within the confines of Republican law, was a hallmark of Cicero's political career. Even in the tumultuous years following Caesar's assassination, Cicero's political acumen shone through. He brokered deals that kept Rome from descending into anarchy, propped up Mark Antony when it suited his purposes, and just as easily tore him down when Antony overstepped. Throughout it all, Cicero managed to maintain the support of former enemies like Caesar and Cato, as well as Octavian and Brutus, holding in check the beasts of Rome. However, in the end, one of the many beasts he kept on a leash turned on its master, tearing him apart head-high, and hands killing the last true defender of the Republic. While Caesar's military exploits often overshadow his political career, it was his skill in the forum that laid the groundwork for his eventual domination of Rome. As a praetor, he nearly swayed the Senate to spare the life of Catiline, a feat that required such persuasive prowess that Cicero had to resort to threats of violence to counter it. Caesar's year as consul was a whirlwind of political activity that showcased his ability to get things done in the face of staunch opposition. He forged alliances, passed land reforms that had been stalled for months, restructured the administration of Rome's provinces, and left for his command in Gaul with a loyal army at his back. This period demonstrated Caesar's unique talent for balancing popular appeal with practical governance. Even Caesar's death, often seen as a political failure, can be viewed through a different lens. The assassination plot against him was so poorly conceived that it could have failed at numerous points. That it succeeded was more a stroke of bad luck than a reflection of Caesar's political acumen. In death, as in life, Caesar's political maneuvering continued to shape the destiny of Rome. At the pinnacle of Roman political mastery stands Augustus, the man who transformed a republic into an empire while maintaining the illusion of constitutional governance. His political career began with a masterstroke, fighting to pay the citizens the money Caesar had promised in his will. This single act painted him as a hero, and Mark Antony as the villain, setting the stage for his eventual rise to power. He may have been somewhat lacking in military might, but his understanding of public perception and ability to find competent and loyal men like Maecenas, Agrippa, and Livia more than compensated for that. By deifying Caesar, Augustus linked himself to the divine, ensuring his legitimacy. Through a series of carefully crafted speeches in the Senate, Augustus systematically assassinated his rival, forcing Antony into a position where he had to choose between his wife and Cleopatra. When Antony chose the latter, Augustus used it as proof of Antony's un-Roman nature, further turning public opinion against him. The final act in Augustus's political drama was his transformation of Rome into an empire. He managed to convince the Senate and the people of Rome to willingly proclaim him emperor and dictator. Succeeding where his great-uncle Julius Caesar had failed, he became the primus princeps, the first king to rule over the Senate, the Eternal City, and the Mediterranean world.